Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The Steelers and Cowboys are currently playing, but I'm doing the podcast before they finish. It was just a long thunder and lightning delay. NBC made it sound like it's going to be 5 minutes forever. And it's just who we're listening to. Chris Sims, Jason Garrett, Maria Taylor, just their HR pamphlet style. Just, I switched over. I think most Americans dipped out. I dipped out. We had Padres, Dodgers to go to, so that was nice. You know, that's a bad blood series. I've been watching baseball playoffs. It's about the only time that I watch baseball, but this is a good series. And it's looks like it's tied up 1-1 now. So I'll cover Cowboys Steelers when it's over, meaning tomorrow, along with Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Saints. So I figured we would just do this because we do conveniently have a centerpiece game, probably the game of the year, an instant classic overtime battle. Baltimore Ravens 41, Cincinnati Bengals 38. A duel of the ages between Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, who have just, obviously they've been AFC North rivals this whole time, but this just kicked it up a notch. This was an incredible game, and it wasn't just pure shootout. You know, like I think John Harbaugh even called it a shootout, but what he says right after that is in the second half. Because the first half was, still AFC North football thumping. The Ravens drove down and got Derrick Henry that touchdown number 100. Sorry, Henry, but you're too late. Mike Evans got his 100th on Thursday. You have lost the race to 100. Of course, I guess you still have 100. You're still in the 100 club. And I'll be interested now to see how far Evans and Henry can go up this career touchdown leaderboard. That's a sacred place, a fascinating place for me. They're probably going to make it into the top 20 all time this season, both Evans and Henry. They just they got one touchdown to pass up Steve Largent, Seattle boy. 3 touchdowns to pass up Packers pre-World War II receiver Don Hutson. And then Tim Brown from the Raiders is also in there at 105. I'm just thinking, how far will they go? Will they just do a couple more seasons and peter off and maybe end in the 120s with Larry Fitzgerald or Adrian Peterson? Or will Henry or Evans or maybe Devonta Adams, who's at 96 right now, hit like a new prime, a new 3 to 5 year stretch and start to touch Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, LaDainian Tomlinson range, 150, 160 touchdowns. You never know. And let's just take this moment to appreciate Jerry Rice in this context. Because Derrick Henry at 100 touchdowns and Mike Evans, who scored his 100th touchdown on Thursday, are 8 short of Jerry Rice combined. Their touchdowns combined are still 8 short of Jerry Rice. But so that's how the game started. Derrick Henry getting 100. I had a whole piece about that. It was hard hitting. The game. There were 8 punts in the first half, and I thought this was one of the best games of the day. There was a sense of desperation. The Ravens and Bengals, sure, they're both like Super Bowl contenders. They got best, 2 of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Ravens are 2-2. Bengals are 1-3. There was some just atmosphere in this game. The Bengals crowd was pumped up. I think the score is 17-14, which included a safety. The Bengals stuffed Derrick Henry back for a safety. 17-14 at halftime, and then it turned into touchdown drive, answering touchdown drive, answering touchdown drive, answering touchdown drive, answering touchdown drive. Like, it was just Lamar and Burrow back and forth. Lamar Jackson has 348 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, with 56 yards rushing. Joe Burrow, 392 passing yards and 5 touchdowns with 1 yard rushing. Let's be fair to Joe. So both of them, 400 yards of offense. Lamar's connecting with Zay Flowers, who had over 100 yards. I think the second leading receiver was Charlie Kolar, the third string tight end. You may have heard the sound of a million fantasy bros crying out, why? Not Likely, not Andrews, but Kolar. And then Burrow, of course, on fire. He gets the first 5 touchdown game this year. The first one since Lamar Jackson in Week 17, New Year's Eve against Miami. Burrow was accurate, consistent. I mean, they were just ahead of the chains. Constant movement. Perfect video game numbers for Jamar Chase. I think he almost had 200 yards. The touchdowns were split nice and even, as you'd want to do in a video game. 2 to Chase, 2 to T. Higgins. Ended up being the quarterback mistakes at the end that were the biggest plays of this game. And really, I mean, this was a great game. Bengals, like that whole touchdown drive back and forth, the Bengals were up for the whole second half. I mean, my joke about touchdown drive answering touchdown drive, that was really just the Bengals being up 10, Ravens cut it to 3. The Bengals are up 10, Ravens cut it to 3. Bengals are up 10. So it was just kind of still in the hands of Cincinnati. And they're again driving. The Ravens just cut it to 3. The Bengals are again driving into Baltimore territory, presumably for like the third or fourth time. Put it back up 10. There's 3 minutes left in the game. They're at the Baltimore 33, and then Burrow makes his first missed throw, picked off. Ravens take that down for a 56-yard field goal to Justin Tucker. Even that was a hard-fought thing there because they had plenty of time, but they had to kind of settle for that. Sure, Justin Tucker is one of the best kickers of our lifetime, but he has been struggling over 50 yards. They didn't want to do that in Cincinnati, but 56-yard field goal, he nails it, sends it to overtime. That interception changed everything. It was like the one slip-up after 5, consecutive answers. Ravens get to overtime, and Lamar makes his mistake, his misstep, which is a fumbled snap. That play was nuts. I love the sound of a crowd that is fully aware that the ball is on the ground, that has like eyes on the ball. And it's still like everyone in the crowd has enough wherewithal and it's been long enough that the ball has been like free. The ball's been free long enough for everyone to be invested on this thing. And it's like a game is bouncing around on the turf. And it's a sound, man. Just go back and listen to that play. There's some great moments. It's not like a fumble like in a pile and you hear the reaction when everyone realizes what happens. This is everyone's got eyes on the ball. Lamar fumbled that snap. It got kicked back from him. One of the Bengals players, bumped into it. It was going backwards. It was nuts. But the Bengals blew that. They ran it 3 times. No gain. Gain of 3. No gain. And they kicked a 53-yard field goal that was missed. It was a mishandled snap, but still, I mean, Zach Taylor deserves criticisms for 3 runs when Joe Burrow's almost got 400 yards this game. He also called a timeout before the kick, and I would love to hear the explanation for that, but it gave the appearance of freezing his own kicker. And McPherson misses it, and then you just got to wonder. Bengals defense, they're watching that kick. They're thinking they're about to go home. They've been getting their butts kicked all day. The kick's missed, and they got to go back out there and play when they thought the game was over. The last thing you want to do is tackle Derrick Henry at that point. Nobody was in the mood. Henry takes a 51 yards right after the McPherson miss. That was 1st and 10 in overtime. Henry takes a 51 yards, tackle to the 6. Ravens chip it in. Great game for the Bengals and Ravens. Mukilteo Football Show. This show is football, everything. NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. We got shows Sunday after Sunday Night Football, Monday after Monday Night Football, and Thursday after Thursday Night Football. Subscribe YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we aren't doing the show after Sunday Night Football today. Sunday Night Football is actively happening. Still the first half as I record this. But I just, I don't know. I don't know how you East Coast people do it. You don't have to wake up as early as us West Coasters. I've gone to conferences and stuff in Boston and Florida before, and it's not the early rise culture that is over here on the West Coast. Even the stuff isn't open at 8 a.m. Like what the heck, 8 a.m. That's like a few hours into our day on the West Coast. But conversely, you all watching football 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night, knowing you have to work the next day, props to you. I can't really do that. And the podcast, it's too much. Plus, the 1 and a 2-month-old child Waylon running around, having a blast. It was a whole weekend of sports, actually. We had baseball yesterday, game ones, Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. My Huskies were taking on Michigan, got some small catharsis over our national title loss. It's fun. It's a nice fall, crisp day with a bunch of sports. That's why I love the fall. And I love sports. Had some peach mead mixed with bourbon and some good old-fashioned Glenfarclas 12. And yet, I still got up at 6 a.m. for Jets Vikings, baby. I watched the first half pretty closely. This wasn't our best export over to London. Darnold, lost a little bit of the magic, a lot of incomplete passes, a lot of misses, and then Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, something is wrong there. It's probably Nathaniel Hackett. He's an incompetent boob. But it was just ugly. Both offenses ugly. Aaron Rodgers looking as old as I've ever seen him. But ultimately, this doesn't make sense. The performance. So they could turn it around. We are still early in the season. Vikings pull it out. So they're 5-0. I think that there's a little bit of cold water on them because it was a shaky one. It was about the defense. It was about Brian Flores' defense and absolute domination over Aaron Rodgers. 3 interceptions. I think there was a fumble recovery there. I mean, it was one of them was a pick 6. Van Ginkel again. So, one pet peeve of mine is this game was good. It was 23-17. I know I said it was a boring game to watch, but it was decent. We gave the Tottenham Hotspur at least something to look at. All anyone was talking about was Devontae Adams. Can he help the Jets? Can he be traded there? Or will he go to the Saints? Or will he go dude, we don't have to be in off-season mode anymore. We have 14 to 16 games happening a week, and it's like a fire hose of information. Can we talk about the games that are happening? People just love trades and stuff because there's nothing that they cannot be proven wrong unless they're like an insider saying this will happen. But talking about the theoretical fit of Devontae Adams is fine. You can talk about that. And nobody's going to prove you wrong. Talking about Sam Darnold's performance in the upcoming game, that game may prove you wrong, and that's why people fear it. But we should be talking about football. So let's talk about football. We had another good game. Houston Texans, Buffalo Bills. NFL schedule makers making sure those AFC elite quarterbacks face each other early. This happened last year too. We've already had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. We've had Mahomes and Jackson. We've had Mahomes and Burrow. Now we got Jackson and Burrow, that we talked about to start the show. And now we have Josh Allen and CJ Stroud in the morning window. I think this is all just to make sure that, all 5 good AFC quarterbacks aren't 5-0. This is to enhance the drama of October and September. Everybody's kind of in the middle, 2-2, 2-3. That's my theory. Houston pulls it out. I think it was 23-20, wins it with a Kaimi Fairbairn field goal, 59-yard field goal at the end there. One of the craziest endings that I have seen in some time, and especially just the coaching decisions that people are upset about. And really, the Texans didn't take this game. The Texans kind of they were blowing it themselves. Their ball control got very shaky. Their game clock management very questionable, especially at the end. They were nothing in the second half. It's funny that one of the themes of this game was, or takeaways from this game and themes going into the game was Stephon Diggs versus the Bills. And the Bills' offense wasn't good today. And so the theme is they lack bite without Stephon Diggs, right? But yet the Texans, they had Diggs, and they lacked bite completely once they lost Nico Collins to a hamstring injury after a 67-yard touchdown. They were hopeless. I mean, they actually almost lost the game. CJ Stroud threw an interception that set up a game-tying field goal, and then they were trying to drive and waste some clock, and they didn't. They had a bunch of incomplete passes, and they had to punt it back to the Bills. Then, of course, that punt was fantastic inside the 5. The Bills throw 3 low-percentage attempts. Allen was 9 for 30 today. 9 completions, 30 attempts. Unbelievable. And before the run the ball guys start to froth up their mouth, they did run the ball. They ran the ball 28 times. So clean up some of the froth. You run the ball, guys. But yeah, Josh Allen was having a tough day. Inside the 5, the Bills throw 3 straight incomplete passes with, I think, under 30 seconds, I believe. And they give the ball back to the Texans, who, to their credit, are able to get a decent return. I think there's only like 14 seconds here. So they needed a little bit of return, and they needed 1 completion to do this. But they did do it. And they needed to make a 59-yard field goal. So it wasn't like a high probability that these 3 incompletions were going to like doom Buffalo. But Houston pulled it off with a little bit of a punt return, the 1 completion, and the 59-yard field goal to win it. It was just crazy. I don't feel like either team is feeling great after this game. Both the Bills and Texans looked a little ugly, but it was a fun game, an awesome game to watch. All right, let's close by touching on some darkness. Doesn't that sound fun? Let's talk about the Panthers and the Browns regretting their QB transactions, and they've been regretting it, to be clear. Panthers aren't happy with their quarterback situation. Browns certainly aren't happy with their quarterback situation. But viscerally this week, the Panthers have to watch the Bears' Caleb Williams, who they gifted to the Bears by drafting Bryce Young, trading the Bears for the number 1 overall pick last year, drafting Bryce Young, who sucks, and then who sucks so bad that it actually gave the Bears the number 1 overall pick, in which they were able to select Caleb Williams. He goes for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bryce Young, by the way, 0 and 0 because he's benched. And to add salt to the wound, the Panthers had to pay DJ Moore to the Bears for the honor of this happening. They had to pay DJ Moore so that this could happen. And of course, Moore caught both of Caleb's touchdowns. It looks worse on highlights and stat box than it did, watching the game. I still think Caleb Williams looks a little sloppy out there. But he had his best day by far. That's what the Panthers do for you. And the Panthers dark. There's just no future. There's just no hope. And the Browns also feeling pain. They're losing to the Commanders. They're 1-4. Deshaun Watson has shown essentially nothing across 3 seasons now. Like Russell Wilson, I think Watson was just, he was taking advantage of aggressive defenses and making big plays. And now defenses have put their egos aside. Their aggression is gone, and they invest everything in stopping the big play. And it's left Watson with nothing. He can't do anything. And the Browns are sitting here watching Baker Mayfield on Thursday. He's doing just fine. He's leading a playoff team, with a realistic chance to come to the playoffs again. And Joe Flacco, their hero last year, is over on the Colts doing same old hero ball stuff. Almost pulled a crazy comeback over in Jacksonville. But, with the way the Browns offense couldn't do anything, you had to think, boy, it'd be nice if we had Joe Flacco, who did disclose that he received no offer from the Browns, which, from the Browns' perspective, I do understand. You've already made the huge mistake of guaranteeing a contract to Deshaun Watson, who sucks and is a horrible person. But if you brought Flacco back, that would have just been asking for locker room turmoil. like severe locker room turmoil. So you really couldn't do it because you're stuck with Watson. But this is the point at which, if Baker Mayfield had stayed, we would be talking about the decline of the Browns. That's what would be happening. Because their roster was stacked in 2018, 2019 through, 22, maybe last year you could say they still had a little bit of it, but it's over now. It's declining now. This would be the point. And I think this is what they were looking at. They were saying, okay, at some point we're going to need a superstar quarterback to carry us. And the irony is they actually gave up their Super Bowl window by letting Baker Mayfield go, and they're not getting anything from Watson. They're not even getting par quarterback play, much less superstar quarterback play that can drive an aging and less desirable roster than what they had. They had one of the all-time rosters. Gosh, sorry Panthers fans, you have no hope. Sorry Browns fans, you missed a window. This has been Week 5. Touch the darkness. All right, we'll be back Monday. We'll talk Cowboys, Steelers. We'll talk Saints, Chiefs. We'll talk it all.